And today I'm here with Ross Nova, who is the president and CEO of the Association of Professional Social Compliance Auditors, APSCA. Welcome, Ross.
Hi, too. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being with us here on a beautiful Washington, D.C. day. Ross and I have known each other for a long time when he was at Kimberly-Clark and I was at Disney. And now he is leading one of the largest social compliance professional membership firms, focusing on advancing human rights in global supply chains. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your story of kind of your journey being in-house to kind of where you are today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Absolutely.
So I was a labor and employment lawyer at Kimberly-Clark and was the legal advisor for a project to start looking at some of the contracted factories that were making the product from a human rights perspective. And long story short, the project went well. They needed someone to lead the program, and I led the program. So I went from 100% legal to 0% human rights, and within probably a year, kind of was doing really 2/3, 1/3, but I got the bug, right? I got the bug personally and professionally, and I really haven't looked back.
That's amazing. I think a lot of us who do this work, you really have to have some passion for it, right? Because it's really difficult work. And it requires a lot of quiet work as well. And social compliance is a growing industry. There's a lot of different understandings and probably misperceptions of what it means. Can you just tell us a little bit what exactly is social compliance and what is an audit, just to demystify it?
That's a good question. So social compliance audit is an assessment of conditions at a factory, facility, farm, field level of human rights risks. What is existing that could impact a worker's well-being? And that is the assessment. And the way that an audit works is that we send in an auditor who is trained, hopefully certified by APSCA and should be, and they go in and assess the situation. They do it from a procedural perspective. You've got to look at certain records. You've got to interview workers. You have to triangulate your evidence in order to have a finding. And then there's topical requirements, certainly things like forced labor, health and safety, time, pay, those sorts of issues are assessed as a part of a competent audit.
You know, as we mentioned, the industry has evolved quite a bit over the many decades that it's been around. What do you find are some of the greatest opportunities right now for the industry?
I think a couple of opportunities. One is to weigh in on global legislation that is regulating our space. So if you look at the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive out of Europe, it has requirements in there about social compliance auditing as a profession. Auditors need to be trained. They need to be independent. They need to avoid conflicts of interest. Those are the exact things that APSCA does. When we regulate the industry, that's what we're doing. So we're working really hard right now to address that, to make sure that global legislation is fit for purpose for our industry. The other thing that we're continuing to work on is having discussions around the social compliance auditing ecosystem, right? There are dozens of actors, and one of those actors are the people that hire the firms to do the work. Those are the brands and retailers, to make sure that they understand that social compliance auditing is an unbelievably important tool, but not the only tool, right? If you're building a house, you have a lot of tools. Yeah. Social compliance auditing is a primary tool, but it should fit into your larger due diligence. So I find myself more often than I had anticipated still talking with brands and retailers to say it's okay to prioritize risk, to focus where you have leverage, both in terms of where I audit, but what I audit for. And I continue to encourage brands and retailers to really focus on those salient risks. And it's okay to not necessarily audit every topic at every factory every time.
Yeah, under the UN guiding principles, one of the key steps is to identify your risks, right? In global supply chains, obviously there's many other steps. And so an audit is a really critical component of that work. You mentioned regulations. Obviously, there's emerging regulations. It has been growing since 2010, I would say, in business and human rights. What does good look like right now? So we went from like voluntary initiatives to now mandatory. The industry is like your industry is growing. In a perfect world, what does good look like for you and your members?
Probably having, again, social compliance auditing be better understood as a tool, not the entire human rights due diligence system. So I think good looks like placing auditing in its broader context, and it partners really well with things like worker engagement surveys, with deeper investigations, and understanding. A good looks like a full, robust understanding of the full social compliance audit ecosystem and what each actor brings and what space they can control and act in and what they can't. So I think having a full understanding that social compliance auditing is not your entire risk assessment, and it shouldn't be the only thing that you do. And I think once we understand that and fit that into the larger context, people will be increasingly happy with social compliance auditing, but then also know what else they need to do to have a robust due diligence plan.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit more about APSCA, Ross, and maybe just kind of how do you work with members? How do you work with social auditors? How are you different?
Sure. So we are a certification and oversight body for social compliance auditing. So if you're a doctor, there's the medical board. If you're accounting, your accounting board. APSCA was modeled after those organizations, and we are the same thing. So we certify auditors, and we regulate those auditors from an ethics perspective, from a competency perspective, and we have 5,500 member auditors right now. We also have 85 member firms. Those 85 member firms represent 85% of the social compliance audits that are done annually. So under APSCA's umbrella are almost 200,000 audits conducted every year. And so once you're a certified social compliance auditor, you're allowed to supervise and lead an audit, as opposed to an associate social compliance auditor, which is more of a junior person who's there to assist. And then, so we regulate the audit on the ground. We also have continuing professional development. If you're an auditor, you pass the exams, you go ahead and take 32 hours of continuing professional development every year. The idea is passing the exam is great. You got to keep your skills up. And those topics change all the time to make sure that, yes, what I did today is great, but I need to train for tomorrow. And that's what we do.
That's great. Obviously, there's a lot of tools, services for both members as well as social auditors. What's some practical guidance that you would want to leave companies with? Maybe a couple of things that they can learn today and take action on immediately.
Yeah, I think if you can take action today, I would say a couple of things. You are part of the auditing ecosystem. Yes, brands and retailers aren't members, but you order those audits, and we're here to service you and give you what you need so that you can get your work done. If you see a problem with ethics, reach out to ethics@theapsca.org. If you see competency that doesn't meet the APSCA standard for competency, let me know. Reach out, and we can certainly look into it. And then more sort of practically is I would take a look at your supply chain and not be afraid to focus on those risks that are most salient. And I would say just tell yourself it's okay. I don't have to do everything all the time. I don't have to do everything all the time. I don't have to boil the ocean. And I think you'll be much happier.
And I think that a lot of us in this space, we're always trying to do that because we're trying to improve the world, right, and conditions for workers. I always like to end my interview with something fun. So what are you excited about right now?
What am I excited about now?
Yeah.
I'll step away from the professional. I'm excited about the profession. I'm excited about APSCA. I'm going to be a little geeky, if that's okay. And I just spent 4 days at a gaming convention where you learn to paint little figures and you play little strategy games. And so I got to go to a class where I learned how to paint little figures. And so it was really, really fun. So I'm excited to kind of.
Do you have the figure with you?
I don't have the figure. Actually, I do have a figure with me. It's in my bag, unfortunately. But I picked up so this is a type of paint that makes moss. So if you're creating a grassy field, now I can paint that grassy field, and I learned how to do that. So I'm really excited to kind of get into this hobby a little bit more.
Oh, that's so fun. Well, it's such a pleasure spending time with you and getting to know more about your industry, but also about you. But thank you, everyone. So you heard it directly from Ross. He helped demystify social compliance and auditing a little bit for us today. But thank you again, Ross.
Thanks, too. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you.